Welcome to another edition of Blue Collar Sports Talk featuring Roger, James, and Daryl. Here's a quick rundown of our lineup for today. Starting with an NFL recap and how the playoff picture is shaping up, we're going to move on to Sunday's games. We're going to take a look at the Panthers at the Bucks, the Dolphins at the Patriots, the Vikings at the Packers, the Steelers at the Ravens, and the Bills at the Bengals on Monday night. We're then going to take a look at some college bowl games on tonight's lineup. Syracuse at Minnesota in the Pinstripe Bowl. The Sooners against the Seminoles in the Cheez-It Bowl. The Longhorns against the Huskies in the Alamo Bowl. And then the playoff starts December 31st. We'll take a look at TCU taking on Michigan in the Fiesta Bowl. And Ohio State Buckeyes taking on the Georgia Bulldogs in the Peach Bowl. Next on the lineup will be the NBA. We'll take a look at tonight's game for the Clippers at the Celtics. Friday's game, the Lakers at the Hawks. We'll then move on to some Husker hoops. Tonight's game is the Huskers at home against the Hawkeyes. The Husker ladies will be on the road January 1st at number 4 Indiana. And we'll wrap it up with some final thoughts, one of those being Alex Ovechkin. Hey, everybody, here we are in the bedroom studio, Thursday, December 29th.
Hello.
Hey, hope everybody had a great Christmas.
Yeah, it's 50 degrees outside. I love it.
Oh, my gosh. It feels amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let's jump right. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I finally got my car washed yesterday. I was like, been waiting for this for 4 or 5 days. It's been so cold. Going through there, and just the salt, dirt just rolling off. And I'm like, yes. Brand new beauty coming right out that side.
I wanted to get mine washed yesterday. I just never got around to it, doing too many things. Let's jump right into the NFL recap, shall we?
Yes.
Hook me up, Roger. Tell me, buddy.
Well, I just watching games and highlights and scores and just like, does anybody want to get in the playoffs? It's just crazy. I mean, the Lions, the Giants, Washington, Seattle all lose and give Green Bay a chance to stay in this thing. On the AFC side, you got the Titans, the Dolphins, the Patriots, the Jets all lose, give Steelers a chance in this thing. The Raiders are still alive, for God's sakes. It's just crazy. I don't even know how you even start breaking down scenarios, on this whole thing. I mean, it's just a crazy last week on how many teams lost.
And how? Going into, one of them I'm thinking of is the Rams-Broncos game. Going into that game, I gave the Broncos a decent chance with their defense. Baker's still learning that offense, and I still don't consider him a great quarterback. This defense will keep it close, and, Russell's maybe coming around. And it was the total opposite. I think the defense is like, dude, we're tired of covering for you. You need to play better. And Russ obviously doesn't. Throw 3 picks again. And the Rams come out, put out 51. Baker Mayfield looks like the savior. And you're just like, wait a minute. What happened here? So that was one of the games I was just like, I never saw that coming. And then the Packers-Dolphins, and I know this isn't quite NFL, but on the side note, Tua and his concussion, supposedly second quarter, finished the game, was never called out for protocol. And you want to talk about, Miami or the league or the players union fired their doctor when the first one happened because whatever didn't get happen. And then now this happens. So whoever they hired or picked for this next one, obviously everyone missed it because I didn't see him get up wobbly. I never saw a replay yet that shows him get up wobbly. But finished it. And then they said, his coach said, talking to him after the game and interacting, they thought something was off, had him evaluated, and he had a concussion.
The article I read had it very carefully worded. They said this is the only player that has had 3 confirmed concussions. And I read that as the NFL knows what's going on. The NFL knows that there's a lot of unconfirmed concussions. So again, it comes all down to money. How many more games can we get our stars out there? So that's to me, that's the interesting story. The NFL knows what's going on. They've paid out a bunch of money. I still want to watch some good sports, but it's crazy. Speaking of crazy, Roger mentioned the Giants game. The end of that game was nuts. It ended on a last-second 61-yard field goal.
61. Woo.
And prior to that, Giants had tied the game on a 4th and 2 with a touchdown run by Saquon Barkley. They added a 2-point conversion. I thought on the next drive, the Vikings were done. They had a 7-yard sack, which turned it into about a 3rd and 11 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He converted to Justin Jefferson for 17 yards, had a quick spike.
It was reminiscent almost like the Bills game, except getting all the way down to the end zone. They got close enough for a long field goal, which I was like, okay, if I'm the Giants, I'll take this. I didn't think he was going to make it. You know, it's indoors. Who cares? But still, 61's not good, easy to make, you know, just in practice, let alone a team coming at you. Yeah, he drilled it. I mean, clutch. And yeah, you know, I've been talking about the Vikings all year, and they don't look like they still, to me, not a Super Bowl team. And all these one-score games, they're clutch, but you can't survive like that. You know, when it comes to at the end of the year in the playoffs, these good teams aren't going to be given. Now, granted, I know Viking fans, I already hear you. They did it against the Bills. You're right. They did. It's a different scenario when you get in the playoffs and these teams have these, you know, leads. They're not going to let you crawl back into it, you know. I don't think that's just a good way to play games from behind.
Well, and speaking of the Bills, this is their 3rd straight season that they've clinched AFC East. You know, Ravens or bagels. Ravens and Bengals. I'm hungry. Ravens and Bengals are battling for AFC North. Again, KC is on top of the AFC West, but that AFC South, Jags and Titans are tied currently. That's just a nuts division. I mean, even the NFC, Philly and Dallas are battling for the East. Vikings did clinch the North, but again, I'm kind of with James. They look tough, but all the way to the Super Bowl, I don't know. And that South, that's a mess.
Both South, but Tennessee is talking about sitting a lot of players tonight against Dallas to save them, because no matter what happens tonight, they said it doesn't matter. All they have to do is beat Jacksonville next week and they win the division. Obviously, same thing for Jacksonville. But, I mean, Tennessee is willing to sacrifice a game, give up, whatever. I get you got to rest your players. But you're telling your players that, hey, this game doesn't really matter. You know, when you say that in NFL, but then you look at it, you're not even 500, you're 7-8. You're going to be happy with 8-9. So, yeah, say Dallas beats Tennessee tonight, 7-9. They go and beat Jacksonville next week. They're going to win the division 8-9, which I said the South is going to have a below 500 winner. And then you go to the NFC South, same thing. Bucks are 7-8. Carolina 6-9. They play. If Carolina wins that and New Orleans wins their game, you've got 3 teams at 7-9 in the South. Obviously, there's only one more game, and they're going to win 8-9. You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy.
Who wants it? And in the North, I think it's Bengals easily. I'm obviously talking AFC North. Baltimore, I think Lamar's sitting again. His knee's still banged up. They're in the thick of it. So obviously, I think, you know, obviously they've clinched a playoff berth, just who they're going to play. So, yeah, in each of those divisions, the East, Buffalo, clearly the best team, Cincinnati, and then Kansas City are all front runners. And then everybody's just trying to squeeze in the back door. And then NFC, I think it's not as open. I mean, obviously the NFC East is loaded. They might still a good chance of getting all 4 teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, going back to the Giants game that we started off with, they're one team that just needs to win. They need to win one game, starting last week. 3 games left in the season. They just need one win, and who knows if they're going to get it done. I mean, but they could win. If the Giants can muster one win, they'll get that 6th spot, and then they'll leave 1 spot open for whoever else wants it. And like I said, it just seems like right now nobody wants it. As bad as we've been talking about the NFC South, I mean, there's still a chance that Carolina could beat the Bucks, win next week, win the South, and then the Bucks would be one of the teams at that 8 and 9 spot that could get in on the tiebreaker. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, we never would have thought that you could get 2 NFC South teams in the playoffs, and there's actually a chance of that happening.
Giants got Colts, so should be a win.
Yeah.
And then Washington, for some reason, has the Browns, and they're going to go with Carson Wentz. So
Yes.
But if they both win those games, if the Giants win this weekend and the Browns, that puts a big stranglehold
On everything,
on those
yes.
two guys. Yeah.
Basically, those are the two teams that if they can win, if the Giants can win one game and Washington can close out the year winning two, they're in. That's the playoffs. But I mean, I don't see that happening. I don't see Washington. Right now, the hottest team in the NFC is Green Bay. And if Green Bay wins out and Washington just loses one of the next two games, Green Bay is your 7 seed team. So it's going to be interesting. I don't really know exactly what's going to happen. Something tells me that Green Bay's got a heck of a chance here.
You mentioned Green Bay, and I'm going to give you a Vince Lombardi quote. The dictionary is the only place where success comes before work.
Huh.
Okay, let's take a look at some upcoming games. We've got a nice Sunday lineup. 6-9 Panthers are at the Buccaneers at 7-8. Both of them fighting. Yesterday, the Bucs were a 3-point favorite. Overs were set at 40.5 yesterday. And let's see if that line moved. Nope, it's still 3 and 40.5. Vegas gives the Bucs the edge, but if you look at the ESPN predictor, it gives it to the Panthers. So it's going to be great weather, about 77 degrees. James, what do you think happens?
I'm keeping my fingers crossed for an actual good game out of this division. I mean, even watching the Bucs last week in their win, I mean, Arizona does not have a good defense, but they made Arizona look amazing until fourth quarter. And then it was like, oh, there's Arizona. You know, I feel for them. It'd been nice to see if Murray was there, if Kyler could have, upset the Bucs in that or beat them, upset whatever. I like Carolina. Darnold's coming back. I mean, it's early still. He doesn't have a whole lot of numbers behind him. He's only, 88 passes, 760 yards, 4 touchdowns. Not a whole lot to go off of, when you compare to Brady, a few thousand yards. I like Carolina. They played. I didn't see them beating Detroit. Not only did they beat Detroit, now we know they don't, have a great defense, but they did put up 37. But the important thing, they held that Detroit offense to 23 points. They just have to hold this Bucs team to 12 or 10 or 12, and I think they got this game. The Pitt loss is pretty ugly on them, but again, Tampa had to go to overtime to beat Arizona. I like Carolina. I don't know what the spread. You said the spread was 3.
3, yeah.
I'm taking Carolina, and I can't believe it, Sam Darnold, to beat Tom Brady.
All right. Roger?
Yeah, again, the Buccaneers last week against Arizona, and they were down 10 points with 6 minutes to go in the game, and Tom Brady did his thing again, where he just came back and won the game. I'm with James. It would have been nice if Kyler Murray would have been in this game, because I would think that Kyler Murray would have been able to get a first down there late in that game and won that game for him. That McSorley,
Yes.
was it McSorley?
Yeah.
He just couldn't get it done at the end. Couldn't get a first down. Couldn't put it away.
Yep.
Otherwise, I thought he played good for a majority of that game. But yeah, I was kind of looking at the Super Bowl odds, and the Buccaneers are still 10th overall with the best odds of winning the Super Bowl.
It's because of one
just
man.
crazy.
One man.
Yeah,
It's only
just
because of the
crazy.
quarterback.
So when the playoffs start, they're basically saying that there will be 4 teams in the playoffs with less odds than the Buccaneers.
Right.
And then, we all think, well, Buccaneers will be the worst team in the playoffs.
Yep.
But no, yeah, it's just kind of a weird season, how this is all breaking down. But yeah, again, with all these teams losing, I mean, we're talking about the AFC South, NFC South having a losing record. I mean, we might have some wild card teams. I mean, we could potentially see maybe 3 teams or 4 teams with losing records in the playoffs this year.
Right.
It's a weird season. That being said, I think the Buccaneers will get it done. Buccaneers will get it done this week and kind of put the NFC South to rest, and then week 18 we can talk about other scenarios. But I think the Buccaneers will get it done this weekend.
I got to agree with Roger. I think Carolina might cover, but I'm going to go with the Bucs. It's towards the end of the season. For whatever reason, Tom Brady is great at rallying the troops towards the end of the season, and I think the Bucs get it done. So
the Panthers did run for 327 yards or something like that. It was crazy.
They were definitely in a zone. I said Sam Darnold. I don't know if it was him or they actually put together a good offensive plan, but you can't put up 37 points on accident. But the big thing to me was holding them to 23. Defense was like, oh my gosh, if you're going to give us points, maybe we'll wake up. And I could see that against Tampa Bay. They jump out to a 10, 12-0 lead. That defense might get hungry and go. And yeah.
Next game up Sunday noon is the Dolphins 8-7 on the road at the Patriots. They're 7-8. Yesterday, the line was 3 for the Patriots, over set at 41.5. Let me take a quick peek. Did that change?
It stayed at 3, which is odd because it looks like Tua's for sure out.
I kind of wondered the same thing.
It didn't change.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing if they would change that since it's not Tua. But I don't think they really lose anything with Bridgewater coming in. He might be a little bit better as far as commanding the game. I'm going to say he's really rusty. So I think that 3 is low.
Right.
I personally think the Patriots just blow him out of the water at home with the change of the quarterback. But who knows? Him and Tyreek could be on the same page, and all of a sudden Tyreek goes off for 4 touchdowns and Bridgewater has a great day. But I'm going to stick with the Pats.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that Bridgewater too. I mean, Bridgewater still is probably the better quarterback of the 2 teams. I mean, he's better than Mac Jones. Bridgewater might even be better than the Jets starting quarterback, whoever they put in there. So yeah, Miami probably, I think Miami probably still has the second best quarterback in that division, even with Bridgewater behind them. I think Miami gets it done. I think they beat New England.
James? I know this is a 50-50. That's I personally think that's why Vegas gave him the 3 points, because your home team usually get a 3-point edge. And so that, to me, that's kind of an even.
I just think we only on our second game, and I'm the lone wolf again because I'm taking New England.
No, I took the Pats. My bad. I took the Pats. I think Bridgewater was great, and I said he potentially could go off, but that's my wish. I just think that the Patriots are too much.
Yeah, and I 100% agree. I really hope Miami wins this game. But on the flip side, Bridgewater not being there very long, New England at home with that defense, and I mean they're not even getting up 20 a game, So New England doesn't need a lot. They are doing without one of their best special teams returner guy. He's out, it looks like, with a concussion. But I think Mac Jones and them, they haven't played great. Miami's lost 4 straight games. New England's lost a couple, but the Vegas loss. Well, we know how that ended. We talking about that. But, I said Miami comes in here losing 4 straight. Even that Green Bay game, obviously now we talked about the concussions with Tua. Are those picks all results of him being fuzzy and not really seeing it? Because 2 of them were bad. One was just a misplay on the receiver, not on the same page. But the other 2 interceptions were like, really? But, yeah, so I don't know. I do like New England when they're at home. Miami, I don't give. The rust is not going to come right off really fast. Their run game is terrible. I'm sorry, they don't use their run game enough. They're not even rushing for 100 a game. So, I'm going New England at home with Belichick in that defense. In the cold. Oh, yeah, and by the way, it's in the cold. I don't know what Bridgewater's record is in the cold, but Miami's record in the cold isn't very good.
Yeah, I saw that the weather was supposed to be around the mid-30s, but with this crazy Arctic chill that's been coming down, who knows what it's going to be like in New England? And I don't see any of the New England
Well, a few weeks ago when Miami played in San Diego, they had to have heaters on the sideline. It was 50 degrees.
Right. You see what I'm saying? So do you double the heaters? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, no one likes to be cold. And when you get hit, it obviously hurts more. But this time of year, and, going back to what we just talked about, winning the home field advantage, you're going to be playing in Cincinnati. You're going to be playing in Buffalo, in Kansas City. Those places are all cold in January. I don't know if you know this, Miami teams, but it's cold in January once you get above that little, line, that Kansas, Nebraska line up there. It gets cold.
Yeah.
Speaking of cold, the next game on our lineup, 3:25 Sunday game.
Oh,
Vikings 12-3 on the road against the Pack that love to play in the cold. The Vikings are a dome team. The Packers are favored as of yesterday by 3.5. It still stayed the same, and the overs are 48. So, guys, what do you think on this one?
Yeah, I like the Packers. I like I said, they seem like the one team in the NFC that wants to win. And they actually have something to play for now. So I think they get it done this weekend, and they'll play the Lions last week of the year, and then we'll see what happens with some of these other teams. But yeah, Packs win, and they need a little help from Washington to lose. But I think they get it done this week and stay alive for one more week.
So I've been down on Minnesota most of the year. Like I said, they're not really a pretender. You win 10 games, they're doing well. Actually, 12 games now. And it surprises me, obviously a team with 12 wins getting disrespected. I don't care if you're on the road. You're going to a Green Bay team, and somehow it's not even in your favor. You're an underdog at 12-3 at a 7-8 Aaron Rodgers-led team. I get it. It's Aaron Rodgers. But they've only beat Chicago, the Rams, and Miami. We just talked about how the Miami Tua probably was half fuzzy that game. The Rams was Baker Mayfield's first game as a Ram, and then you have the Bears, which are the Bears. Before that, they lost to Philly and Tennessee. I'm not a Green Bay fan, so it's always hard for me to pick them, but the surprise number for me is Green Bay's rushing for 120 yards a game, and Minnesota 94, sorry. That surprises me when you have a Delvin Cook in your backfield. So this is my thing. If Minnesota can go in the cold, hand that ball off to Delvin Cook or the backup. I apologize to everybody. I don't know who the backup is. But run the ball 30, 35 times in that cold. Keep Green Bay on the sideline. Green Bay don't have a great defense. I mean, rushing yards allowed, they're giving up almost 150 a game. So that's what I'm saying. If Minnesota can go in the cold, run the ball, as much as I've been down on them all year, I think Minnesota can win this game. They have way more to prove. Green Bay needs it to stay in. But like I said, everybody's been disrespecting Minnesota all year, including myself. Go ahead and win this game in Lambeau against a hungry Green Bay team that needs it. And you can put everybody on notice, hey, come playoffs, we are for real. So I'm going to pick Minnesota. I'm taking Kirk Cousins and Delvin Cook. And obviously they don't need a cover because they're an underdog at 12-3.
I almost don't want to pick this. I don't want to put the reverse jinx on the Vikings, but I'm taking the Vikings.
Yeah.
I think they showed that they can play in the cold and the brutal elements when they went to the Giants, and they eked out that win.
And Buffalo.
Yeah, and Buffalo.
Right.
They lost in Detroit, but I know it's do or die for the Packers, but I just think, and this has always been a very good series between these two. No matter how good these teams are, these two teams battle it out. So I think the Pack covers, but I think the Vikings eke out a win somehow. Do or die teams, Pittsburgh and the Ravens. The 7:20 Sunday game, the evening game, depending on what time zone you're in, 7:20 Central. Pittsburgh 7-8, Ravens are favored 2.5 yesterday. Go ahead, James.
I was just going to go when you're talking about the time of this game. On a side note, did you see that Wisconsin-Oklahoma State game didn't start till 9:15 the other night? I get it. It's in Arizona. But really, people, sorry.
No, it's all good.
Pittsburgh. Gotcha.
Ravens are 10-5, Pittsburgh 7-8, and they're both kind of battling. So,
and it looks like Lamar. The last I saw, Lamar is going to be out again, nursing his knee. And what's funny is, they don't like giving out injuries. Belichick's one of those, and I'm guessing Harbaugh's a new one that I don't really want to tell you exactly what's wrong. Before it was like a knee bruise. He just kind of came down. But this is a long time for a bruise. This will be, 4 games now. So I'm wondering if there's more to it. They haven't put him on IR, obviously. Huntley has played admirably as a backup. Do they get more out of him? And you want to talk about 2 teams that play each other well, like you said, Minnesota and Green Bay. Steelers, Baltimore. And you throw out the records right out the window. And Tomlin gets on the field with those guys. It's game on. I just don't like Pittsburgh's quarterback play. I love Pickett. I think he's going to be good. I'm not saying next Roethlisberger yet. Well, let's wait and see next year. I'm just taking Baltimore because they're at home. No other reason. Baltimore's at home. It's an iffy game. I totally did that, didn't I?
No, I don't know what's going on. I hear that crackling too, but I'm not sure where that's coming from. I'm on the same page with you. Ravens won the last one on the road by 2. I think they keep it close, and I think Vegas is thinking the same thing with that 2.5 at home.
Right.
Neither one's quarterback is playing the best. When you have Pickett, who started as the 3rd backup at the beginning of the year, and Lamar is hurt. He's not hurt. We don't know currently. He's questionable. So, actually, he's not even. Yeah, he is questionable still. I apologize. I don't know. Roger, what do you think? I'm taking the Ravens just for the fact they won on the road last time, but I think it's just because they're coached by Harbaugh.
Yeah, I don't expect much scoring in this game. I don't like either quarterback. Their quarterback play has not been real good. Baltimore's just doesn't seem like a real good team without Lamar Jackson behind the center. I expect this game to be real low scoring, kind of like all Pittsburgh's games have been. But that Pittsburgh's defense is pretty good. That TJ Watt is something else. I'm going to say this is a real low scoring game. Pittsburgh got a gift last week with all these teams losing, and
oh my,
I think Pitt will get it done this weekend and stay alive. Baltimore don't have to win; they're in. So I like Pitt.
And James, you took the Ravens?
Yeah. And on that, so the over-under is 35, right? So I'm looking at it now. In the last 4 games, both teams, Baltimore has not scored 20 points in their last 4 games, and Pittsburgh got 24 against Carolina, but other than that, below 20 points in those other 3 games. So you're right. The scoring is not there for either team. So that's why I'm taking the home team. And you got the best kicker ever in Tucker. So Baltimore is going to kick 5 field goals and win 15-12.
Yeah, I would. 35 is low for unders, but on these 2 teams, I think that's
right there.
That's a lock, and I say that, and then they go off for 30 apiece. Yeah. So the final NFL game we're going to look at is Bills 12-3 for Monday night game at the Bengals 11-4. And before we get into this, I read an interesting article. I'll leave a link in the description. Of the last 23 games, the Bengals have covered 20 times, and this rivals Tom Brady's 22-1 mark against the spread, starting week 2 of 2003 through week 4 of 2004. So the Bengals have covered against the spread 20 of the last 23 games, which goes into the previous year's playoff stretch. So, guys, what do you think of this game?
And you have a spread of 1. So does that say they're going to win? You know what I'm saying? Or they lose by 1 and it's a tie. Yeah. Finally, a Monday night game that should get really good ratings. I mean, you have possibly an AFC matchup, a championship matchup game here, depending on how the games go. Cincinnati didn't get to play the Bills last year, right? Kansas City beat them, and then they went on and played Cincinnati. Cincinnati went on the Super Bowl. So it's going to be interesting. You get to see Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. I mean, this is a lot like the Green Bay, Minnesota game. I have no idea. I could flip a coin. I like to take the home game in these. they're rushing again in the cold. Bills are 140 a game, and Cincinnati's not even 100. Joe Mixon and company have really not got it done in the backfield, haven't really got the pressure off of Joe. But no matter how many times Joe gets hurt, hit, sacked, if you still give him the ball, like we said about Brady, if you give him the ball with a chance, man, just like Josh Allen is going right down the field. Just give me Cincinnati. I'll do it for Greg, my son, huge Cincinnati fan. I'm going to take Cincinnati as a family pick. How about we say that?
Roger?
Yeah. Both these teams still have a chance for that number 1 seed in the bye and the AFC. I think the Bills are still the best all-around team. That Josh Allen, he's a special player. He's good. I think the Bills get this game done. I think they kind of go out there and kind of make a statement that we're the best team. I think the Bills get it done. I think they win by a couple scores.
Wow, a couple scores. That's huge.
I 100% agree, though. The Bills, I think, are the best team in the AFC. And, yeah, Josh Allen, best quarterback in the AFC. Nothing against Patrick Mahomes. I would take Josh Allen on my team, 10 out of 10.
The Bills are on a 6-game win streak. The Bengals are on a 7-game win streak. They're both missing a few players, most notably Leo Collins, offensive tackle for the Bengals.
Done for the year.
And the Buffalo Bills, Mitch Morse, their center. And I feel that might be why they put it at 1 instead of the Bengals getting 3. I go back and forth. I don't know which, but I have to pick, so I'm going to go Bengals. And I think they're going to get it done, and they're going to snap that 6-game win streak for the Bills.
So that'd be huge because I think the Bengals start off 0-2, right? 0-2, 0-3. They were just trying to still find it, fill their flow. He's getting sacked left and right. And now to have a chance at a bye, a first-round bye is, man, way to go, Zach Taylor.
Yeah, Zach Taylor.
Oh, on one more NFL, you got Cowboys-Titans tonight. Unfortunately for everybody, it's on Prime Video again. I'm not a big fan of that. The betting line is got to be crazy. It's at 13. Tennessee's going to rest a lot of people, mainly because they only need that one win against Jacksonville next week. As a Cowboys fan, I need that defense to wake back up. Whatever happened after the bye week, it needs to come back. There's rumors of Dan Quinn now in the Denver job, getting interviews over there. Well, how about we do an audition, get this defense playing good again, and maybe teams will talk to you for a head coaching job. Because right now I would be like, it's just like Atlanta, nothing against Roger and the Falcons, is Quinn was great early and then fizzled. Well, he had this defense playing unbelievable early, especially when Dak was out. And now it's like, we can give up 30. We're scoring 35. But you can't have that if you're going to win. So anyway, Dan Quinn, make this an audition for a head coaching job and get that defense back up.
Yeah. Yeah, the Cowboys, you're right. I don't quite understand what happened to that defense. They ain't getting to the quarterback. The last 3 games, they've only got 1 sack. Yeah. And they've allowed 37 points on average in the last 2 games.
Didn't even force a punt.
Again, their offense is scoring points, turning the ball over and still scoring 30 plus points a game. So, yeah, this defense needs to step up somewhere. I don't know exactly what the answer is. I would think you're allowing teams to score a ton of points. So we're putting Micah back at linebacker or covering people or whatever. I don't know if that's the answer or if you just say, Micah, just go get the quarterback.
I'm laughing because the entire time Roger's talking about this, James has nodded his head emphatically
So
about it.
I really don't know, but Micah's the best player on that defense. Just, he needs to make plays. They need to get to the quarterback. They need to sack him. And they're just not doing it. So
I don't think he's playing at 100% because, and that's just my personal thought. And everybody's kind of towards the end of the season keeping their cards close. because at the end of last week's game, Michael was begging for a timeout at the end of the game. Yeah, everybody was gassed.
Right.
And it took forever for them to realize, hey, we need to take a timeout. But I'm just like, I don't know if he's playing at 100%. So I don't know if there's just end of the year, just minor aches and pains. Isn't this the first season where they even have another game?
Yeah, the extra game.
So
yeah, like you talked about moving him. I'm not putting him in the same realm as these guys. But when you look at your Brian Urlachers, your Ray Lewises, your not Mike Ditka, I'm sorry.
Sure, he played linebacker.
Mike Singletary. When Van Der Esch went out, if I'm Dan Quinn and we struggled against the run that game with the Colts, to me, you have to put Micah back at linebacker. Again, I don't know all the news and notes and all the analytics, but you already have a really good defensive line that was getting to the quarterback without him. And, he get him up. You can blitz a linebacker anytime you want. Do it. But let him be your run stopper. Like you said, Roger, let him make plays. Hey, find the football, go get it. But when you limit him on the right end or the left end, just rushing, we ran the other direction, or he ran out of you and, pushed you out of the play. Let him make plays, put him back at middle linebacker, especially if Van Der Esch is going to be out, and just tell him to go get the football. But I think that's one of the big things that hurt them. Van Der Esch went out, who was playing not Pro Bowl, but really, really well, and no one's filled in. They got Anthony Barr from Minnesota. He's obviously older, not quite getting it done, and now you're bringing safeties and strong safeties down. Their sack was by a safety. It wasn't even by a defensive lineman. So, yeah.
We're going to move on. We're going to move on to the college bowl games. There's a bunch of games tonight. We're going to start with the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl in Yankee Stadium. The Syracuse Orangemen, who are 7-5, against the Minnesota Gophers, who are 8-4. As of yesterday, the Gophers were favored by 10.5, with overs set at 42.5, and it looks like the overs went up to 45 as of today.
Does anyone know if that defensive coordinator that Rule's bringing in with Nebraska,
Tony White?
Yeah, is White staying there for this game, or because I want to root for Syracuse because of him, because they're coming to Nebraska, but I also like to, I like to see the Big Ten win their bowl games. Minnesota looked really, really good early in the season. Their O-line and running game I thought was amazing, and then all of a sudden they faltered. So. I like Minnesota, mainly Big Ten. Nothing against Syracuse. Very strong team. They did lose a lot to end the season. 4 of their last 5 they lost. So Minnesota winning 4 of their last 5. Their only loss is to Iowa, 13-10. I mean, that's what you normally lose to Iowa with. You just have to score 20. So I'm going to take Minnesota. I like Minnesota. 10.5, I don't know. It's a bowl game. I don't really care about the points. I just say Minnesota wins the game.
Roger, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of with James on this same thing. I would like to see if that Tony White's coaching this game. Like to see what that defense does. They're 10-point underdogs. So obviously they believe Minnesota's the better team. Big Ten's only played one bowl game so far. Wisconsin beat Oklahoma State.
Yep.
So we could go 2-0 in the bowl games. It's always nice seeing your conference win the bowl games. I guess with Minnesota being a 10-point favorite, I'll go with Minnesota in this game. I don't know if they'll win by 10 or not, but I think Minnesota wins this game.
I'm right there with you, Roger. I've got Syracuse covering with the Gophers win. And the reason I got there is I was just looking at the last 5 games that Syracuse played, and they've all been within 9 or 10. They beat Boston College. They lost to Wake Forest by 10. They lost to Florida State by a lot, 35 actually. But they kept it close to Pittsburgh, and Notre Dame blew them out of the water. For whatever reason, I don't know who's playing, who isn't, thanks to the transfer portal,
right?
Who's not going to play. But the other side of that is this is Not a home game for either one of them, but it's closer to Syracuse than it is Minnesota. So in my mind, that favors Syracuse to have more fans in the stands. And that's why I still think the Gophers get it done, but Syracuse covers. And that is a Thursday, 1 p.m. Central on ESPN bowl game.
Hey, I got something to watch before I go to work today.
Yeah.
Might make it to at least the end of the first quarter, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of second. If they run the ball a lot, we can maybe get to halftime.
The 4:30 Central game on ESPN today is in Orlando, Florida at the Cheez-It Bowl. We've got the Oklahoma Sooners versus the Florida State Seminoles.
Two teams I could not like more. Sorry. Go ahead, Roger.
And the Sooners are 6-6, and the Florida State's 9-3. They're number 13. OU even fell out completely of the rankings. Do the Seminoles feel a little slighted having to play the Sooners?
Well, I didn't realize Oklahoma was 6-6. I thought they were better than that.
Nebraska curse.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Florida State being a 9-point favorite, playing a 6-6 team.
It went up to 10.
Yeah, I guess. I guess I'll take Florida State on this game. I guess before I saw the spread and before I saw the records, I probably would have gave Oklahoma a chance, but yeah, I'll take Florida State.
Yeah, it's 73 degrees. It's in Camping World Stadium, which used to be, I think, the Citrus Bowl all the time there. It's supposed to be 73 game time. I just don't understand how you stick a 6-6 team against a number 13 Florida State. Did they do that because they know that Oklahoma's going to travel? Honestly, this is as close to a home game for Florida State as possible. I see Camping World Stadium just being packed with Seminole fans, and I don't care if they're favored by 10. I think Florida State blows them out of the water by 20.
Right. So looking at it, why didn't they get Texas? If they wanted a Big 12 team, sometimes these bowls are tied to conferences, like the Rose Bowl, Pac-10.
Why not Washington?
Well, I mean,
a 12 and a 13.
Right, but I'm saying if they're tied to a conference, so
I
they
get
need a
that,
Big
but
12.
I think that's stupid.
I 100% agree with you. That's what I'm saying.
I'm agreeing with you too, but it baffles me. And
yeah, take a Texas team that's obviously a better. But no, I couldn't agree more with both you guys. I don't get it. I hope it's a Florida State blowout. Obviously, because I don't like Oklahoma either, and I'm not a big fan of Florida State. But send a message to these bowl teams. Again, when you look at the Rose Bowl, it's going to be a Pac-12, Big 10 team. No matter what the records are, you don't get the best bowl game. You're right. When we get to these 12 playoff teams next year or whatever, start matching up, your 14 with your 16, 15, 17, match them where they're close. Let's go by rankings on these bigger games and not, we always have a Big 12 team. Well, not if they suck. A 6-6 Oklahoma. Yeah, if I'm Florida State, you're like, I hope they don't go in there saying, we're big head, we can beat these. Go in there and lay a whooping like it is a title game. It helps recruiting. It gets the coach and they're pumped up, and it sends a message to Oklahoma that, dude, we don't care who you are. Win by 20. I'm taking Florida State, obviously.
This is my Florida State tangent. Gone are the days of Bobby Bowden. And if ever there is a time I miss him, it's when all these players are getting in trouble, and I miss Bobby Bowden always standing up for his kids. Well, they're good kids. They're good kids.
Right.
They are good kids. And I miss that time in football where Bobby Bowden always stuck up for his kids. That has nothing to do with this current game. I just miss the golden era of football in my mind. Moving on to number 20, Texas at the Alamo Bowl, kind of a home game for them. The Valero Alamo Bowl against number 12, Washington. Washington's 10-2. Texas is 8-4. As of yesterday, the spread was 3. Overs were 67. Today, the overs went to 66. And it's supposed to be really nice in San Antonio. 64-degree evening, 8 p.m. Central ESPN game.
Washington's coming in hotter, winning, finished out wins on their season. Texas with TCU loss and Oklahoma State loss. Defensively, Texas 21 points a game. Washington 26. I really like Washington. This is pretty much a home game for Texas, obviously being played in San Antonio. The Big 12, they give crap about not playing defense. Pac-12, same thing. They don't get a lot of love about playing defense. Oregon played some defense last night. There's one other game I'm not thinking of, but Oregon State beating an SEC team, played a lot of defense. I'm going to say that Washington and the Pac-12 bring in a defense. I wish I knew I followed it closer how healthy Ewers is, because when he's on, he's probably one of the best quarterbacks in college football, in my opinion. But I'm going to take Washington on the road, and the Pac-12 plays defense, and Texas has to play catch-up.
Roger?
Yeah, I like this game being high scoring. I like Washington myself.
Okay, so you're thinking overs?
Well, whatever it is, I don't even know what it is, but
Overs are
I
set at
see
66.
I see a 41 to 38 game.
I'm going to be odd man out. I'm taking Texas wins, but Washington covers, and I'd definitely be all over the overs. Just looking at both teams, Texas finished the year by scoring 38 against Baylor. They scored 55 on a Kansas team. Washington scored 51 on a Washington State team, and Washington scored 54 on a really bad Colorado team. But they also scored 37 on a supposed really great Oregon team and 24 on a really good Oregon State team. So they can both score.
Right.
So I'm taking overs all day long on this one, and somehow I think Texas wins, but Washington covers. Moving on to the Saturday, December 31st, start of the playoffs. We have number 3 TCU in the Fiesta Bowl, the VRBO Fiesta Bowl against number 2 Michigan. Michigan 13-0. TCU dropped that one. This is a 3 p.m. ESPN game. And let's see here. Yesterday, the spread was 7.5 to Michigan. It stayed there, and overs are at 58.5. What do you think, guys?
I like TCU. I do. I don't really know why. I don't know if Michigan's going to come into this game and play real well. But I think TCU kind of playing the underdog role, playing the Cinderella team, kind of the small team amongst 4 big boys in this playoff. I'm going to take TCU to win this game.
That's huge.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lower scoring game. I don't think Michigan's going to do much offensively. I think TCU will do enough defensively to kind of keep this game low scoring. I'll say like 24-17 type game.
James, what do you think?
I'm 100% with Roger. I like that TCU is going to be healthy, especially their quarterback. He got really banged up. You could tell towards the end of the season, even in that K-State game, he was hurting. I really like Michigan's defense. They are something else to watch, especially when you saw them what they did against Ohio State. You know, even the Purdue game. But I agree with Roger. I don't know if they score enough. A lot of time off. Granted, both teams have a lot of time off. I get it. But TCU and that quarterback, I really like their play better than the Michigan's quarterback. I haven't seen, I don't know if you guys have seen, no real big player from either one of these teams did their combine ready time, so they're going to quit the team. I'm pretty sure they're all going in relatively healthy with their stars. I have not heard about Michigan's running back, Corum. I think he was out with an ACL tear, right? He's done for the year.
I believe he is.
So, yeah, to me, it's huge. Obviously, that backup is really, really good at Michigan. I love TCU. Like I said, I started picking them, I think it was week 4 or 5 when they went against one of my picks, and I started paying attention to them. TCU's for real. They're going to make the underdog story happen. I like it. I like TCU, and I'm glad me and Roger talked early in the season how whenever those playoff games start, those first 2 games are blowouts. They're not even games, right? I really think these 2 games that we're about to talk about are going to be games. And I love it. But I think they both come down to the end. And, yeah, I got TCU.
All right, I'm odd man out. I don't think the TCU defense can hang with the high-powered Michigan offense. Michigan has put up points all year long, and the only one that really stopped them somehow was the brilliant mastermind at Illinois. Other than that, Purdue let them hang 43 on them. Ohio State let them hang 45 on them. I don't even think TCU covers. I think it's just a huge blowout. I would love for you guys to be right. I really would. I honestly don't care who wins this game. And I would love for you guys to be right, but just looking at the numbers, there's no way TCU comes out on top of this one.
I'd say that you are right because a lot of semifinal games, like I said, there's been like 3 good semifinal games in the history of the playoffs. So, yeah.
I hope the Big Ten wins, but I fully see, man, a healthy TCU team is really, really good.
Yeah.
We're going to go on to the Ohio State Buckeyes 11-1 in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl against number 1 Georgia, who is 13-1. So kind of a home game for Georgia. And yesterday the overs were set at 62 with Georgia favored by 6.5. Let me do a quick check, and actually everything stayed the same. What do you guys think about this one? This home game for Georgia?
Yeah, I kind of going to have a kind of a different take on this game. I think Ohio State's going to come in and they're going to score some points. Unfortunately, I believe Georgia can play any type of game anybody wants to play, whether it's high scoring, whether it's defense, whether it's whatever. But I do think Ohio State scores some points. But unfortunately for them, I think Georgia scores more. And Georgia wins in a kind of a high-scoring game for this game. I think Georgia puts up close to 40. Ohio State scores somewhere in the 30s. I think the overs hit 6.5. Yeah, I'll say Georgia even covers that. I'll say, like I said, I'll say something like 31 or 41-34 type game. Kind of high scoring game.
I'm kind of right there with you. I think we both with both teams, they can put up a lot of offense. Georgia's never really been a covering machine this year.
No.
I think Georgia just is unstoppable, though, all the way to the championship game. And I think Ohio State covers, but Georgia wins. And it's in Atlanta and the Falcons home. So you're going to have Georgia Bulldog fans everywhere. That stadium's going to be rocking Bulldog fever.
Yeah. That Mercedes Dome is so nice. Oh my gosh, that's a nice stadium down there. I 110% give Ohio State a chance to win this game. But when I look at the numbers and I look at the games this year, even Ohio State's last few games, this could almost be a complete replay of the Michigan game, where, like you said early on, I could see a halftime being 21-20, a 24, a one-score game going into halftime, and then the second half, Georgia's defense makes the right adjustments, and Ohio State doesn't answer. To me, Georgia's defense is great. I mean, I don't really watch them on offense. They both quarterbacks throw for over 3,000 yards. They both only have 6 picks. Stroud has a lot more, like 17 more touchdowns, I think, than Stenison or Georgia's quarterback. But yeah, the home crowd, the loudness, that defense is going to set the tone, I think, especially coming out second half. Early, Day's going to have Ohio State ready in the first half. It's going to come down to the second half adjustments, like the Michigan game, and Georgia will pull away in the second half. Unfortunately, it's going to be a good game early, and it's going to look like a blowout. But yeah, to me, Georgia's defense is going to be the story of these playoffs, and that's what's going to carry them to the championship.
Okay, moving on to the NBA from the College Bowl scene. We've got some fun games tonight in the NBA. James and I, Celtics fans, obviously you guys know that, or if you don't, we're huge Celtics fans. I think we bleed green.
Oh, man.
They're playing the Clippers. The Clippers took the last one when they first met up in L.A. The Celtics are currently 14-5 at home, but the Clippers are 10-8 on the road. 10-8 on the road. That's huge for an NBA team right now.
Yeah, when you look at these other teams that are barely and below 500, good teams that some reason can't play on the road.
And the Clippers really frustrated the last time they play. So I was really surprised to see Vegas put the spread at Celtics for an advantage of 6 points. Overs are set at 227.5. If the Celtics play calm, cool, and collected, they cover that 6 all day long. If they don't,
if they play defense, right?
If they don't, then it's the Clippers game. But since I'm a homer for the Celtics, I'm taking the Celtics. I'm not going to say they cover, but I'm going to say the overs all day long on this one. Roger, you have any input on this one?
Well, again, I watch some highlights and some sports centers, whatever you want to call it. And I don't follow the NBA too close, but I did see that this last week, and I can only think of 2 of them, and there probably was a bunch more, but what's with these, 12, 14-point leads with 2 minutes to go in the game and you're blowing them?
Right.
The Clippers had one against, I don't remember who the team was now, but they were down by like 8, 9 points, 10 points maybe, and came back and won. And then that Dallas Mavericks game.
Against the Knicks. Yeah.
Against the Knicks.
Right.
I could not believe that watching that. And the one thing that seems like never works actually worked for the Mavericks in that game.
The missed free throw?
Where they missed the free throw and then he got it back and put it in.
Yeah, 1 in 1,000 times. And
yes.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Yeah, and Luka Doncic is he's the MVP this year. He is. The only other person I could think of is John Morant. Maybe beats him out, but I like the Celtics and the 6 points in this. Clippers are so up and down. I don't know what to think of them. So I'll take the Celtics in this game and the 6 points.
They're still 21-15. I know it's really early in the season, but I was really shocked when I looked at the Clippers are on above 500 on the road, which in the NBA, I think that's tough. James, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. As a Boston fan, it's hard for me to pick against them. Clippers have won their last, so they lost at Philly, but then they've won at Detroit, at Toronto. So they're on their little East Coast trip here that they're going. They come against a Boston team that's pretty good. I mean, they're playing defense, 109, 118, 102 points. The Orlando game, they kept them under 100. They lost that game, but they kept them on 100. So the last 5 games, Boston's starting to play a little more defense. They got healthy. Smart's back. White's more. Robert Williams III is back. I think he's the coach. I can't remember his name. He's starting to figure out a lineup or good rotation.
Joe Mazur.
Yeah, thank you. I like Boston, and Clippers beat them by 20 the last time they played back early December. I'm hoping Boston returns the favor. Not just cover by 6 or 7, not blow this 10-point lead that Rogers was talking about. Go in, set the tone against the West Coast team that's going to be in the playoffs, and put them on notice. Hey, you got us on a West Coast trip. We're going to take you out on this East Coast trip, and put them hurt. I say they win by 15.
That's huge. If they do, I might do naked backflips up and down my street. I'm kidding. That'll never happen. But
the backflip or the naked?
Both. I would just be excited. That's just Daryl's way of saying I'd be excited. We're going to look at a Friday 6:30 game. Now, both of these that we're talking about are on NBA TV, which I'm a little bummed about.
Right.
I really enjoy the ESPN coverage, but that's neither here nor there. Friday 6:30 p.m. NBA TV. The somehow surging 14-20 Lakers without Anthony Davis at Atlanta, who are at roughly 500. 17-18 Atlanta Hawks and the 16-21 Lakers.
You say surging Lakers, they lost 4 or 5. I can't say surging, but Atlanta, same thing, lost 4 or 5. But Atlanta gave Brooklyn all they could handle last night. They gave Indiana all they could handle. A nice big win against Detroit. But then I believe that Brooklyn lost. Young didn't even play. Trae Young. I like Atlanta at home. Again, I said the Lakers lost at Miami. The only win right now on their trip is Orlando. They lost at Dallas. Luka let LeBron know that he is definitely better than he is. I hope this young Atlanta team takes heed, plays good ball. This will be the first time they matched up this year, so I'm taking Atlanta at home with that young squad.
There's no definitive, and they're all day-to-day. Clint Capella's day-to-day, Trae Young is day-to-day,
right,
and DeAndre Hunter's day-to-day.
How am I supposed to place my $1,000 bet if I don't know if they're going to play?
Can I borrow $1,000?
Right. Aren't we all day-to-day? Every time I get up to go to work, I'm like, man, I'm day-to-day.
Yeah.
I don't... I'm going to the Hawks as well, just because they're at home. Roger, what's your take on this, being a Hawks fan?
Well, I'm just taking the Hawks, not because I'm a fan, but just because the Lakers don't. They're just not a good team. They're not. LeBron is he's playing like a young LeBron, and you think, well, I mean, is this a LeBron that can carry a team all the way to the playoffs, all the way through the playoffs, all the way to the championship? Like he did when he was with the Cavaliers, because, I mean, they had nothing, and LeBron he was just good enough to where he could do that. But it's just not only is LeBron older now, but it's just a different game. It's just all up-tempo, just score. So, no, I don't think LeBron is, even as well as he's playing, can carry this team into the playoffs. With the way they're playing, they're not even going to make the playoffs. And I don't know what they're going to do at the trade deadline. I'm guessing that it might be big. They might dump Davis. They might dump Westbrook. They might dump everybody and just try to get enough pieces to where maybe LeBron and this team can make it to the playoffs. But yeah, I don't know exactly what's going on. But I'm taking Atlanta at home just because Lakers are not good.
You'd mentioned briefly that Mavericks player, Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
And it's way too early to start talking about the MVP race, but what he did in that overtime win against the Knicks, he is in rarefied air. He did a 60-point game, 21 rebound, 10 assists, triple-double in an overtime win.
85 points he accounted for.
Yeah, with either assists or scoring.
Right.
And I'm going to leave a link into that, but what he's doing is just crazy.
One sneaky name I want to throw in there, because I agree. I think John Morant, Jason Tatum's in the MVP talk, but one guy that's going to start making it, and I don't know if you saw him last night, scored the last 14 points for his team to come back and win it, is Zion. He has slowly got that Pelicans team in the West at the top, by the way. Yeah. And obviously in the MVP in the NBA, you need to be on a winning team.
You're right.
Luka's nothing against Luka. The Dallas is in the middle of the pack. Zion could sneak in and be him and John Morant again, 1-2 in the draft, and now might go 1-2 in the race. It's early. It's not even All-Star break. I get it. But if Zion stays healthy and plays the year, there'd be a whole new talk of handing him that trophy at the end of the year.
And you hit the nail on the head with, if they are on a losing team, it's tougher for them to win, because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the Thunder, his numbers, he should be in the talk every single week, but he's not, unfortunately. We're going to stay on the Hoops page, and we're going to look at some Husker men's hoops tonight, 6 p.m. on the Big Ten Network. We're at home in Pinnacle Bank Arena against the Huckeyes. I said the Huckeyes. How about the Hawkeyes?
I think you said it right the first time. I mean, we don't have much of a chance. I mean, the predicting Vegas people, shockingly, I was only favored by 5, averaging 80 points a game, 83 to Nebraska's not even 70. So I am surprised the spread is so low. Granted, it is here, but Iowa lives close enough that it could be just as good. Nebraska has not played since the 20th, so they might come in rusty or they might come in fresh, right? I've liked the way Nebraska's looked this year, especially in second half basketball games. The last few years has not been that. Second half has been our downfall. It's almost like they fell asleep. It was nap time at halftime, and they're still groggy starting the second half.
But Iowa's in the same thing. They just dropped their last game to Eastern Illinois.
Right.
No one really knows what's going to happen for either team. We can beat Creighton as the Huskers, but then we falter the next week. It's just
92 points they gave up to Eastern Illinois, by the way.
Yeah. Well, we beat Creighton, and then we had a chance with Purdue.
Yep.
Really. They called us for a foul that wasn't a foul. That was a turnover.
Right.
We get that ball, we put it in the hoop, the game's over, we win.
Yep. They should not have been shooting free throw.
Then you said the last game we played was the 20th. Was that the K-State game?
No, the QO
Queens.
Yeah,
oh, okay,
Queens team.
okay. They lost to K-State, then they beat that Queens. Okay, all right.
And so
Queens University Royals.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say I haven't heard anything. So we've been off for 9 days now. So yeah.
And this starts conference time, so this is all going to be Big Ten play rest of the year going in.
Yeah.
I think this is a great statement for Nebraska. I'm hoping Fred has them ready, and I'm going to take Nebraska at home to upset Iowa and keep the trend going since football.
Yeah, like I said, the last two games that we've played in meaningful games, actually before the K-State game was like I said, Purdue and Creighton, and we won. So I give us a chance to win this game. I play hard. Unfortunately, I don't think we will. I think Iowa gets it done, but yeah, I'll be watching this game, and hopefully Huskers can get it done.
I'll pick the Huskers just because I'm a homer. This is on Big Ten Network. If you want to take a peek, 6 p.m. Central. The Husker men next play on the road January 3rd, also on Big Ten Network against Michigan State. That's a 6 p.m. Central Time start. To stay on the Huskers page, the women lost a bummer of a game last night to Michigan. Michigan's ranked 14th, I believe. Michigan also has on their roster a former Husker who just lit us up. And
Nebraska couldn't shoot. If you look at rebounds, we're pretty even, turnovers, fouls, all the outside the numbers are there. Nebraska shot like crap from the field and 3-point percentage. It just not a good night. A little bit of a layoff. Obviously, they had a small one, but
Murkowski ended up with 5 points.
Yeah, there was a horrible shooting night for the Lady Huskers. I feel for them.
She didn't even take any 3-pointers.
Yeah.
Jazz Shelley had the high score with 21, but let's see, Leah Brown, she was a former Husker and transferred. Right. She finished with 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists. She was really close to a triple-double.
Yeah,
she's an amazing player. She played her heart out last night, and they beat us 76-59. We kept it close for a while, but they just pulled ahead of us. The Lady Huskers' next game, January 1st on ESPN. That is on the road at number 4 Indiana. It really bums me out that we lost Allison Widener. She was a spark plug for that team. She put a lot of effort in. She played every single possession on both sides of the ball, on defense and on offense, and truly going to be missed to that season-ending injury that she sustained when she was going for a loose ball out of bounds. So, thoughts and prayers with you, Allison Widener. Hopefully you mend on the quick. That brings us to kind of our final thoughts for the show. And Roger, I'm going to kick it over to you.
Yeah, I just want to touch up on some hockey. Ovechkin is now in second place behind Wade Gretzky. Scored 2 goals on Friday the 23rd, I believe it was, and moved into second place. Past Gordie Howe's 801.
That's huge.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yeah. That's a lot. And I think he plays long enough to where he catches Gretzky. He's only 37, and these hockey players love to play into their 40s. They're tough old guys, So
Well, and his game really hasn't gone down.
no, it hasn't. Yeah, he scored 50 goals last year. He's going to score 50 goals again this year, and sometime probably not next year, but the year after he'll probably pass Wayne Gretzky's record.
I really thought when the kid came on the scene, Sydney, that he was going to push for this.
Yes.
And I don't even think he's going to be, not that he's not going to be close, but I don't think he gets to 700.
Yeah.
That's why I think that this goal thing is that's a lot of goals. And like I said, Sidney Crosby came on the scene hot. And you're like, okay, maybe, a little longevity, and yeah, he just doesn't score like he used to. Ovechkin just keeps it going.
I'll leave a link in about it, Ovechkin, because his teammate even passed up an open shot and got an assist because he was just like, I think everybody would have hated me if I would have taken that shot and not let Alex take the shot. So they're playing tonight at home against the Senators, and the Senators aren't that good. They're just a little bit below 500. So Ovechkin could get a couple more goals tonight. So
Right.
Yeah, and another guy in the game is this Connor McDavid. Plays for the Edmonton Oilers. Right now they're on the outside of the playoffs looking in, but he's leading the league in assists and goals. And he's on a 16-game point streak where he's either had an assist or a goal in 16 straight games. Sounds like the real deal. I mean,
yeah.
He's I believe this is his 8th season, and he's only 25 years old. He's been playing in the league since he was 18 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So
that's a rough sport to be playing at 18 years old.
Yeah.
Just saying.
So, yeah. And then just kind of touch on the standings a little bit. The 4 leaders of each division, Boston in the Atlantic, Carolina in the Metro, Dallas in the Central, Vegas in the Pacific. They all kind of got big leads, +9, +6, +5, +4. So, it's kind of, they're kind of running away with this lead in those divisions. 2 other teams playing well is Toronto, New Jersey. Carolina's got a 9-game winning streak. Colorado had a 4-game winning streak until they lost yesterday. But Colorado moved themselves into the playoff contention. Again, it's a long season. We're not even at the All-Star break, halfway through the season yet. But looking at the Vegas odds, is Colorado is still one of the favorites to win this whole thing. Of course, Boston's the other one, but Boston's playing so well. Boston has yet to lose a game at home in regulation. They're 18-0-2 at home. So,
yeah, and they just beat the Devils last couple of games, and my Devils started off hot, and now they're starting to trend back down towards 500. I know they're second behind Carolina in the standings, but man, Boston really had their number the last couple of games.
Yeah, but besides these leaders in the divisions, there's just a lot of movement going around in that third spot, because each division takes the top 3 teams, and then you got 2 wild cards, and it's just kind of, you're in the playoffs, you're out of the playoffs. So it's pretty tight little race for the final spots of that playoff scenario. But like I said, we're halfway through the season. A lot of hockey left. So we'll see later on where we're all sitting on this.
You made a great point with Boston's home streak. I like to go the other route, and I like to look at how the teams are doing on the road. And right now, 3 of the top teams on the road are Carolina, New Jersey, and Vegas Knights.
Right. And
you need that when you get to the playoff time. Go ahead, James.
But when you talk about New Jersey, I think they're almost 500 at home, and Vegas, same thing. Vegas crowd at home is electric. You should feed off that crowd. If I'm a hometown, if I'm rooting for Vegas at the stadium, whatever, I'm like, how do you win on the road, but you can't win for us? Saying the Devils, they have a better record on the road than they do at home. And I was a hometown fan. I'm like, dude, we're here cheering and yelling and screaming, and you don't get motivated, but yet you go on the road with no support and you're winning. And yes, 100%, when you're going to win a championship, you need to be able to win on the road, but you need to feed off those hometown fans, especially when they're going to be that loud. And Vegas is one of the ones I know Tampa Bay, Colorado, those fans really get loud for you. You got to feed off of them.
Gentlemen, anything else?
I forgot to add when we were talking about the bowls, I pulled up the conference teams in their bowls and all that. So just the ones that we talked about, the Big 12 has 8 games. They're currently 1-3. Big 10 has 9. They're 1-0. Your Pac-12 has 7, and they started off 2-1. That amazing SEC has 11. They're 1-3, by the way, with a nail biter, Arkansas over Kansas. So let's hang our hat on that one. So yeah, I'm going to keep kind of an eye on this as our next couple of podcasts come up. I do believe the Pac-12 and Big 10 will, you do have the American, the Conference USA, the Independents, blah, blah, blah. But as a big Power Fives, I'm going to keep an eye on and see how we go. I want to say I haven't looked, so I'm going off of kind of a memory. I believe SEC was below 500 last year. I think, again, it'll be this year, same thing. But I think Big 10 and Pac-12 will have really good records in the bowls this year. But my final thought was, so we had Christmas, and I had a lot of people asking me, why did the NFL play on Saturday? And I was like, well, it was one of those handshake deals, I'm guessing. Of course, I don't know. Not Goodell. We'll put majority of our games on Saturday. NBA gets Sunday, but they still play 3 games on Sunday, right? So I was interested to see the TV rankings. The Browns-Packers game is a 10.8. They had 20, I'm sorry, where'd it go? 5.3 million. Oh, man, I'm reading this wrong. Okay, Browns-Packers, 28 million viewers. Colts-Cardinals, 12 million viewers. These are the NFL games that were played on Christmas Day. Your closest was the Nets-Lakers at 5 million watchers. Warriors-Suns, again, these are top teams. Warriors and Suns, big followings, 5 million viewers. They didn't even crack 10 million viewers. Celtics-Bucks, 4.9. So what I'm getting at is even these crappy teams that played, Colts-Cardinals, 2 of the worst teams in the NFL, arguably, and they had over 10 million viewers, 12. And not a single NBA game could get to 10 million viewers. So again, when the NFL next time, which will be, won't be next year, that'll be Christmas Eve, but the next time this rolls around and we're on a Sunday, just tell the NBA you might want to move your day. We're going to go ahead and keep Sunday.
They never will.
No, you're
it's been a tradition.
Right.
It's been a tradition.
Right.
Yeah.
But if I'm a station, because obviously all the NBA games were back-to-back on ABC, back-to-back, or ESPN ones, back-to-back, right?
They both carried.
But that was a weird day. Think about the East Coast and how much snow it dumped out there. Think about how crazy it was in the Midwest, like Ohio. I think there was thousands of people without electricity. So all said and done, remember, it's one of the biggest holiday seasons out there, days. And to expect that many millions of people to tune in, I think that's a win for the sports in my mind. And I get what you're saying, like, hey, look at other days, but they got to have programming.
Yeah, and I'm just saying the NFL is still, and I'm not saying untouchable, but still king of the hill when it goes against, like I said, NBA puts some marquee matchups out there, and the NFL put lower games. If you look, they could have put the Cowboys-Eagles on Sunday, and they didn't. They could have put...
I don't think it would have got the viewership. I think they did the right thing, and I think in my humble opinion, they had it on Christmas Eve and they got more viewers that way.
Okay.
But what do I know?
Right.
I'm sitting in a bedroom talking in a microphone. I'm not sitting in a boardroom.
Right.
Gentlemen, anything else?
I don't think so.
I'm going to leave you with a couple more Vince Lombardi quotes. I pulled these off the internet a while back, and his quotes are just amazing, in my humble opinion. So here's a couple of them. The man on top of the mountain, he didn't fall there. And I'm going to follow that up with perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence.
Hey, that one I agree with. The man didn't fall on top of the mountain. That one's...
he's right. What he's trying to say is...
He had to climb.
And it's all work. He just didn't show up one day and he's like, oh,
look at me.
I'm in Dynasty.
Right.
No.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. You got to put in the work to get the reward. Yep. Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah. Happy New Year, guys.
Daryl for Blue Collar Sports. Go watch some sports.